What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and we are talking about Bitcoin today. In this video, I'd like to give a few price predictions for the up and coming days and weeks, and even end the video with a price prediction for the end of the year. If that sounds good for you, hit the like button, subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and let's get into it. I meant to say good to you, not good for you, but maybe it's good for you. Maybe it's bad for you. I don't know, but we're going to figure it out. $111.2 thousand is the price right now. 23 hours left in this day, the 28th of August. It is a brand new day here. And we, I believe, have found our low at $108.9 thousand. Now, I remember when I made my last video, I think we were at like 111 or maybe we were 112 or maybe we were just below or just above 112K. And I remember looking at the Bitcoin longs to shorts, and the longs, you guys, were at like $3 billion. Now they're just below $2 billion. The shorts were at like less than $1.5 billion. Now they're just below $2 billion. So we've piled on some shorts, we've shaken off some longs, and we really haven't gone anywhere. We're basically in the same place that we were whenever we had a ton more longs, like a whole nother $1 billion worth of longs. So the fact that this little movement down from about 112, let's see, 112.7K down to $111,000 essentially has shaken out some longs, like a third of the longs that were placed in the past 24 hours. That's awesome. That's great to see. You know, over the past 24 hours, we do have a little bit more longs than shorts added on. Over the past 7 days, a lot more shorts piled on. Over the past month, it's crazy the amount of shorts. Can we go down? Can we clear out some of these longs? Absolutely. If we were to go lower, if I'm wrong and this is not the low, the lowest that I would expect we go is somewhere around like $104.8 thousand. It's very possible that we could do that. 107K would be the more probable target, in my opinion, even just below 107K. But at this point in time, I'm not so convinced that we're going to go down there because, again, people seem pretty shaky, right? They're confident 1 minute when we're up high, and then once we do a little shakeout, we do some fake action to the downside, people shake out. If we're looking at this here, drawing this trend line, we did go right below this trend line, and typically on these diagonal lines, it's when you go below them that you expect to find support, and you look like you're going to find support on them. Everybody thinks, oh, we've broken it, that means we're going down, and then that makes people either close their longs, open up shorts, whatever it might be, and then we rip in the other direction, right? That's deceitful price action, and Bitcoin is very fond of that. Not only that, but we've got this flat top here, flat top right here with ascending lows. Whenever you get a flat top with ascending lows, it's like an ascending triangle look. This is more bullish than bearish, and I think we've got a nice little uptrend here. On top of all those things, we have broken out of this downtrend from a high here coming down like this. And again, the times to sell are not right at the line, but just above the line, just above the line here. Here we've broken out of this line, and we're back testing it for support. We are finding support. Now we're actually separating from it with the second low. Isn't that nice? You look at the 1 hour time frame, you look at the RSI, we've actually got support right in the same area, depending on what we do this hour. You know, if this hour closes green, we do. If it closes red, whatever, we can get a little bit lower. We'll have a lower low in the price, or a lower low in the RSI with a higher low in the price. It's actually a good thing, not a bad thing. But we've got a bit of an uptrend, don't we? We've got higher lows, we've got higher highs. It looks like we're in a channel upwards, and we're right at the area where you'd expect to bounce. So I am expecting that we start this day off with a bang and maybe end it with a bang as well. We'll see. Hopefully, fingers crossed. I'm thinking the 28th might bring some bullish price action. If not, well, we'll talk about it in about 12 hours. I'll have a little egg on my face, and we can discuss maybe the possibilities of going lower. Again, if we are to go lower, and I want to make everybody aware of this, this is a very possible outcome that we could see, is that we get some kind of flash crash shakeout where we dump at a very unprecedented rate down to this level of about $107,000, maybe just above there, just below there, down to the lowest that I would expect to be about $104.8 thousand, right, somewhere around here. The reason we derive that target, if we're looking at the 4 hour time frame, I forget, is it this one? I think it's this fib here, yeah. It's probably this fib. From a low to a high, your 1414 is right there at 107.1K. Your 1618 is at 104.8K. That's where that target comes from. Typically, you go just below the 1414. You don't stop right at it. So again, something just below 107K or just below 105K would be the potential target area if we were to see some kind of flash crash. And again, using our little diagonal lines here, our magical diagonal lines, you don't find support at the diagonal lines. Sometimes you find support just below it. So that would actually make sense as well. I'm not calling for that. I'm just saying if that happens, while here I'm calling for us to go up today, if we get some kind of flash crash freakiness going on, I'm addressing this that way nobody panics, because you'll know at least that that's actually a prime opportunity to buy. Don't have cash because you bought now, you're expecting it to go up like I am. That's okay. At least you know not to sell, right? It's okay to buy a relative high. It's not okay to sell the relative low. Just wait. This is crypto. In time, it will come back. I want to pull up some other indicators here real quick. Looking at the 1 hour time frame, Again, the RSI, look at that. We just closed our RSI green. Beautiful. We got the bounce at the same area. That's perfect. I forgot that we were so close to closing this 1 hour time frame. The stochastics also look pretty good. We're about to cross up here, and that's, I need to mute this damn computer. That's the second time it's made noise. We're about to cross up, and we've got higher lows coming out through here. Whenever you get overbought, typically you'll range. You'll go from the overbought to the oversold to overbought to oversold, but you haven't done that. You went to the oversold zone, but you bounced right off it twice. And here you're looking like you're going to bounce above it. This is really bullish behavior, you guys. This is actually really good on the stochastics. And again, just going back to that idea of this deceitful nature of the price here, it's throwing some people off. I've been paying attention to these 24-hour longs versus shorts all damn day, and people are definitely clearing out their long positions, and some short positions have definitely gotten added to as well. So where people were about 24 hours ago in the same exact price area, super confident that the low was in, I think people are less confident now. I'm kind of curious, yeah, the fear and greed index even came down a little bit as well. Just a little. I think it was at a 46 or a 47. Now it's at a 45, so just a little bit. Looking at the MACD, the MACD did cross above the zero, and we're prevailing. Yes, we've crossed down a little bit, but that's okay. The MACD is kind of a lagging indicator. When you move sideways like this, it's not that reliable. I want to look at the 4 hour time frame here. 4 hour time frame coming up. MACD's crossed up, but again, we're not really getting too much off of this. That's okay. You know, for a rejection off the zero, that's really not that bad. You found support, little double bottom action here on the oscillators, and you are crossed up, so I like that. But again, it's the 4 hour time frame. I don't expect this to be the most reliable. The stochastics do look good. I don't like the fact that we rejected off the overbought zone, but if we can get this 4 hour time frame to close green, if we can show that we are continuing to move up, just like yesterday, I was concerned that we'd come down, and we flipped that situation to now I believe we are at the low. This look was not friendly, but we turned that into a friendly situation. Now this look isn't friendly, but it looks like we're turning it into a friendly situation. We get into that overbought zone, you guys, that's going to be phenomenal. The RSI is reluctant to get into the oversold zone. We haven't been overbought, and overall it definitely looks like it's at a bearish kind of stance right now. But if we can continue to move up and prevent ourselves from really getting too deep below the 50 or at least below the 40, definitely avoid getting oversold, but continue to get overbought. If we can do something like that, I think that'd be very beneficial. And just looking at where we are now, that could promote growth between today and tomorrow, Friday, in the price there. The stochastics, the MACD, the RSI, they're not, I'd say the stochastics is the most bullishly postured. The other two are kind of neutral with a bearish tilt, but they have the potential to start doing good if we can just get above this 113K area, okay? Let me give you some price areas to consider, okay? From a high to a low. Once we get above 112.2K on a 4 hour closing basis, we should, at a pretty fast pace, move up above 114.5K. At that point, we might have a lot of people close their shorts, might have a lot of longs open, and we might see some volatility. It's extremely common to go from your 382 area down to your 236 and then up, okay? Ultimately, I would expect that we get to the golden ratio. By the time that we get above this high, people are going to get the same bright idea. Oh, we've taken out this high. We're clearly going to go higher. Longs pile in, but typically you find resistance the first pass of the golden ratio. You'll pull back to the 0.5 to 382. The same indicator that made people go long, you're now below that, and people will panic. They'll do exactly what they did today, right? You had a higher high. Oh, it's time to go long. And now that we're back down below that high, nobody knows what to do. They take their longs off, they pile on some shorts, and then that'll be the fuel that we need to continue to go higher. So if this process goes the way that I think it will, we might not see new all-time highs until September, which is kind of sad because we were expecting to see new all-time highs by the end of this month. And in all fairness, you know, back here when we were calling for that, we did get new all-time highs by the end of the month, but we didn't go where I was calling for. I thought that we'd be at like $130,000 to $140,000 by the end of this month, but it's looking like we'll still probably be below about 100. We could be above 120K by the end of the month. If not, we'll be on our way there in the very early months or early days of September. I am expecting a little bit of a correction in the beginning of September, so perhaps what we see is, you know, we're up at this area, we get some kind of double top or triple top, whatever. Maybe we see a slightly higher high, and then we get some volatility to the downside, a big kind of shakeout. I am expecting a little bit of a downward move to open up September, and then we continue to rally. With that being said, I think a lot of people are expecting negative price action out of September, so that makes me think that there's a chance where we actually pump going into September, which would actually be nice. And that kind of makes sense with the story that I have laid out for the 4 hour time frame. Let's look at the daily time frame though. I'm talking too many hypotheticals. Okay. Too many hypotheticals is making my head spin. All in all I know for now is that on a 4 hour time frame, we look like we're set up to move higher. We just have to do it. If we turn around here with the overall bearishness that is in the RSI and the overall bearishness that's in the MACD, if we turn around here, there's a probable chance that we do go below that low. And I've addressed those targets, right? Just below 107K to just below 105K. Assuming that we move up, we get above about 113K, we should be moving up at a very nice pace toward, 114.5 and beyond. Whenever we do see new all-time highs, the immediate target area to consider would be about $130,000 to $135,000. Once you get above $135,000, it's time to start considering $140,000 to $155,000. We get above $155,000, and I'm thinking that we're going all the way up to about $180,000, you guys. Okay, that's kind of the scheme here, and I would expect that we're up in that area probably sometime in October, mid-October, late October. That's the thoughts. I don't think that September is going to be a bloodbath. I think that we will, being that we've been stagnant here, I think that we will not see a whole lot of life in Bitcoin and crypto until maybe the mid parts or the late parts of September. But again, I might be wrong because a lot of people are expecting September to be a bad month. So maybe we open it with a bang. We just totally confuse people, throw people off. I don't know. Daily time frame here. Stochastics do have bullish divergence, right? We've got a lower low in the price. We've got higher lows in the stochastics. That is bullish divergence. That's good for a move up. We're looking like we're ready. Not only that, but if we're looking at the stochastics themselves, the oscillators are starting to get out of the oversold zone. If we can close today here or higher, that would be a really good signal. That would be a signal that we are ready to move up, actually. The RSI is finding support here, 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 in the same areas that it's been finding support for months now, you guys. And even before that, we found support plenty of times in this area. Overall, the daily RSI is extremely bullish, living above the 50 for the most part, right? If we draw this, we put a line here. We have just that amount living below the 50 and a large portion living above the 50, not getting oversold at all, getting overbought a plethora of times, okay? And I think that we have a date with destiny at this overbought area here. And whenever we do get overbought, at the rate that we like to grow, I would assume, again, look at that. That'd be in like the middle of September. Now, the RSI, the way it works, it's not so cut and dry, right? You move up, that doesn't necessarily mean Bitcoin's moving up at a very fast pace. Here, you're moving up nice, and that was a good pace, right? Your RSI is still growing. Here, you moved up with the RSI, and you got overbought. That's a nice pace, right? But whenever you get overbought, that's whenever the real moves really start to come in, typically, right? Whenever you got overbought back here, whenever you got overbought here, that's when the big moves happened, right? Whenever you got overbought here, that's whenever the big moves happen. You're moving up beforehand, but once you get overbought, that's when the big moves happen. So we could move up, but when we break out of our, when we break out to new all-time highs, I would think that would be as we're piercing that overbought zone. And if we just draw a kind of fast, semi-fast trajectory, basing it off of these prior angles here, that might be, the middle or the ending parts of September that we are even breaking out to new all-time highs, which would be kind of crazy. Going again with that idea that maybe we stop here, see some kind of shakeout to start the month, and then we start to rally, right? Pile on the shorts. September's going to be a bloodbath, and then we rip right through their faces like we did the last two Septembers. Well, we didn't really rip right through people's faces on the last two Septembers, but we didn't have a bloodbath, that's for sure. The MACD here does have lower or higher lows in the histogram. Low here, higher low, higher low. And we do have a low here, lower low in the price. So that is bullish divergence to double effect right there. I don't like that the MACD is crossed below the zero so much on the daily time frame. That's the one thing I don't like about this whole setup. Everything else looks ready to move up, but that's the one thing that has me concerned, okay? Beyond that, we look at the weekly time frame here, and the weekly MACD crossing red, that is a point of concern as well. Understand, you guys, every time the weekly MACD is crossed red this cycle, that has been pretty bad for the price action. Yes, here we crossed back green, but let's look back and see what we did here, okay? Here, we crossed red. Where is it? Where? Momentarily, right here, right? We moved up, but really what we did, even though we crossed red here, but what we did was we consolidated for months, okay? We consolidated for months once we crossed red. Here, we consolidated for months once we crossed red. Here, once we crossed red, we consolidated for like a month and a half, okay? And we were in the midst of a multi-month consolidation. Actually, maybe more months. Let me see. We crossed red right here. That was February 3rd until April 7th. So yes, multiple months right there. If we cross red here, I mean, it could be until October that we start to see some excitement. And that would be really sad to see. So to prevent this cross, what we need in the next 4 days, essentially 3 days, 23 hours, we need to come up. We need this week to close green. We need it to close green. It needs to close green. And beyond that, it needs to, I don't even know if a green week, if we close neutral with a green effect, if that would be enough to get this from crossing red. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But the higher up we go, the better. So the goal here would be to close this week above about 114.5K, which remember that 114.5K area from a high to a low, that is where our 382 is. Whenever we get back, and remember this in the very beginning of the video, we're talking about this. You get above this 236 here at 112.2K, we get a 4-hour time frame to close above there. We're going to 114.5K. Okay, typically with the 382, you go just above there. And if we go back to the weekly time frame, that right there, hold on, let me bring it back out. that 382 would close us above this this low here. Oh, I thought it was 114.5. I'm sorry, I got it confused. 112.5. 112. No. That's the daily time frame. We need the weekly. Okay, no. I'm sorry. I'm confusing you guys. I'm confusing myself. 114.2K is the goal to close above by the end of this week. 114.2K by the end of this week. And I have to admit, looking at the week right now, we've got a little bit more than half of the week left to go. And over half of this candle is a wick. That's a pretty good look. That's a pretty good look at the moment, you guys. We started off the week pretty bearish. We're shaking out the weak hands. I think, and Bitcoin's been so volatile throughout this range, I think we can do it, but we have to do it because closing this red, every time that we've seen it do this cycle, it's been very bad, actually. It's been very bad. And I wonder, even dating back to last cycle, look at that, 2021. Let's go back to this, right? Zoom it out a little bit. You know what? I'm going to delete some of these other indicators real quick because I don't think we need them, okay? I can just bring them back lickety split, but it's so much damn noise, isn't it? Whenever we, May of 2021, we crossed red here. That was a long time consolidation. We came back up, right? You crossed red. That was the beginning of the bear market there. We were in the last bull market. Let's see, before the COVID crash. Whenever we crossed red here, that was months before we saw a price that was above that high. Whenever we crossed red here, that was so long, you guys, so long. Every time we cross red in the MACD, it's actually a really bad thing on the weekly time frame. So to avoid that, we need to close above $114.2 thousand by the end of this week. Call your friends, call your billionaire homies, and have them buy as much Bitcoin as they can. Tell them to sell their Bugattis and get some Bitcoin Audis, okay? We're going to go up higher. I very much do believe we're going to go higher with or without that. And at the end of this year, I would expect that Bitcoin, some people are calling for $200,000 by the end of this year. I wouldn't be surprised if we were up a little bit more than that. But I bet we hit 200,000 by the end of this year. I'm thinking that we'll be at about 180K, somewhere around there, by the end of October. And if I'm right, November, December, we consolidate. We'll probably be at like 259 to 300,000 by the end of this year. If it's not by the end of 2025, then we should be going up there going into January. I'm expecting a kind of pump that will last between, we'll pump between now and going into the end of October, maybe more or less, right? It won't be like, maybe it'll be completely crazy. And September is actually a really green month, which nobody's expecting, I think. And then October is typically a very bullish month, so that would carry out into October. We consolidate sometime in October to November, and then November, December into January, I would think that we pump, and that'll be our next stopping point there. But that's not the end of the cycle. I think we'll have one more rally after that, but time will tell. By the end of the year, I certainly do see that Bitcoin will see a $200,000 price. I very much believe in that. I would even go as far as saying that we could see a $300,000 price or somewhere in between, okay? I got nothing else for you guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, hit the like button, subscribe. Thank you all for being here. I'll see you on the next one. Take care of yourselves, all right? Bye-bye.